If you are starting newly in sewing, by all means avoid complicated patterns. You heard me right. Some patterns are way too complicated. Like, why do you want to waste the whole time trying to understand the basic bodies before sewing? Some are way too complicated. At the end of the day, you're still going to achieve the same thing. But anyway, the point is avoid complicated patterns. Avoid patterns that has too many lines, too many things to understand in it. If it is your first project as someone who is starting to learn, especially if you're self-taught, go for simple patterns. You can begin with dartless blocks, right? Begin with patterns that do not have that, so you can just understand the human body before you begin to contour some areas to fit properly the way you want it to fit. But then begin with dartless blocks, blocks that will just have your neckline, your armhole, and the length of the dress that you want to make. By so doing, as you see the efforts, the results of your efforts, how it is coming out, you'll be motivated to learn more things on the journey. But when you begin with something that is very complicated and hard for you to understand, you will find it difficult to be motivated to do other things, right? So start with simple patterns. It does not mean that is where you're going to stop. No, you know where you're going, but begin with something simple and easy to understand. You make a simple dress, wear it, it fits you, you'll be happy to do more, right? So number one tip on starting to sew very well, begin with simple pattern. Number two is get the right tools and get them well. You have your scissors, two scissors, one for paper, one for fabric. And the one for fabric will have to be very sharp. You don't know the frustration that comes with having a scissors that is blunt for fabric. You will be frustrated. We don't want that. So get a scissors that is very sharp for the fabric that you want to cut, right? Sharp scissors. Remember I said two, one for paper and one for fabric. Do not use the two interchangeably. Keep them separate for each purpose. Now, number three, you want your pins handy. Pins are for everyone, whether you're a beginner or a professional. Make sure your pin is handy. You can have a pin cushion on your wrist so that you can use it at every point in time. Make sure to pin your pieces, your fabrics before you start sewing. This is very, very important. Pin before you start sewing to avoid having your fabric dancing up and down or moving in direction that you do not want it. Okay, so pin before you start sewing. And also have your seam ripper. Make sure you're writing those names down so that you can go in search of it. I'm sorry I'm not showing you the items, but they are very easy and simple to get. Your seam ripper for losing seams when you make mistake. As a beginner, mistakes are inevitable, right? So use the right tool for losing your seam because you do not want to mistakenly cut your fabric. If you use a sharp scissors in losing the seam, you might mistakenly cut where you're not supposed to cut, and that will be a disaster. We do not want that. Use a seam ripper. All right. So we've mentioned before fabrics that are good. So make sure you have the right kind of fabric that you want to start your project with. It is very important. And make sure that your machine is in order, well oiled, well maintained, well cleaned for a good sewing that will not give you frustration. Make sure your sewing machine is in order. All right. Bad cutting results in bad sewing. So when you're cutting your fabric, make sure you do not rush the cutting process. Take your time. Make sure you've gotten all the diameters and parameters that you need to get. The height, the length, or whatever it is that you're marking on the fabric paper, make sure they are accurate. And make sure your seam allowance is accurate. Do not mark half an inch and then sew 0.75. I see a lot of beginners make that mistake. You mark half inch for seam allowance while sewing, you sew 1 inch. I wonder how you want it to fit. So make sure you remember the seam allowance you added. That is another problem. You can mark seam allowance and forget what you marked. You can mark 0.75 and forget that it is 0.75 and then you begin to sew 1 inch or sew half an inch. Remember what you marked. If possible, write it down so that you do not forget. Sew what you added, right? Do not sew less than and do not sew more than. Now, one thing that makes an outfit very good is your pressing, your ironing. Make sure you press every seam line open. Make sure you press as you go. right? It is very, very important. That is one major thing that differentiates a bad finished dress from a good finished dress. Make sure you press your fabric as you sew. Whatever you sew, go to the ironing table and iron it very well. This will make your work to come out neatly and professional, even as a beginner. I hope, I do not want those videos to be very long, but I hope with these few tips you will begin to make good outfits. Like I said, do not rush, even while you are sewing. Avoid speed. Make sure it is accurate. Speed will come with time. Okay, so if you have anything you want me to talk about, make a comment in the comment section. Like this video, share it, and I will see you in the next video. My name is Justice.